What's up, Nerf Herders? Hope you're all doing well out there and having a great day. So we're going to talk about Willy's Wonderland. Been waiting for this movie for a long time because we all like to see Nicolas Cage in unique situations, but I really feel Nicolas Cage has kind of found his niche in these low-budget, direct-to-video films here, and I just think he's found his mark in that. But before we jump into this here, please make sure to hit that subscribe button, click the bell for notifications, drop a thumbs up on the video here if you enjoyed the content, comment down below what you thought of Willy's Wonderland if you've seen it. This will be a non-spoiler review, and just want to share some thoughts on this here because this movie wastes no time getting into things. So I just want to share a couple of things that will hopefully entice you to go see this movie if you have not heard about it. And Nicolas Cage, we all like to see him have his freak out moments. He's kind of become notorious for that as of late. But the last couple films that he's done that fit into this same kind of a genre, I would say, and that's going with Mandy, Color Out of Space, and now Willy's Wonderland. I really feel he's kind of found his little niche in this. It's almost kind of like Matthew McConaughey, who had been typecasted for forever, you know, as kind of the lover boy in films and all this stuff. And all of a sudden, Mud came out, then Killer Joe, then Dallas Buyers Club. And you got to see this whole different side of Matthew McConaughey that made me a huge fan of his too, but some fantastic films. That's kind of what I feel like we're getting with Nicolas Cage here, because these are all kind of home runs here between Mandy, Color Out of Space, and then Willy's Wonderland. Now, what I really like about this movie is that it jumps right into things. It doesn't waste any time, and there's really no premise to this at all. It's a very classic 80s kind of a feel to it, where it's Nicolas Cage squaring off against a hybrid of Chuck E. Cheese meets Five Nights at Freddy's, and it's almost set up in a way where, you know, Nicolas Cage is your fighter in Mortal Kombat, and you're working your way up the tower, and the tower is just each one of these animatronics here. And if you know Chuck E. Cheese, you know, Chuck E. Cheese is kind of the birthday celebration for kids and stuff, and they've got the whole band up there that plays and sings and all that. This is a direct rip-off concept of what Chuck E. Cheese is, and these animatronics just kind of go off the rails. Almost, you can throw a little bit of Chopping Mall into that even, too, with the way Chopping Mall kind of comes together. But what I love about this movie is it's very 80s-like, and that might be something that bothers some people, but something I really appreciated because the action sequences in this were shot quick. They were shot in your face. It was a lot of shaky cam, but it worked for what the scene was. And you could tell that, you know, it wasn't this huge blown out of concept, you know, over elaborate set pieces with choreography and all that. It's just brute force of just beating down these animatronics with everything. And I like that because it felt very old school 80s to me. And I feel like they shot each little sequence with these animatronics specifically to capture that tone, because the whole film really has that feel to it. Basically, Nicolas Cage, we get introduced to him driving down the road. He hits some spikes in the road, gets a flat tire. His vehicle winds up at the auto body shop, and he needs to get his vehicle back. So he has to go spend an evening in Willy's Wonderland to clean it, because they want to reopen this place. There's been some tragic stuff that's gone on there, and if he can make it the night to clean this place out, then they will fix his car, and he will have it ready to go in the morning for him. And he's a man of few words throughout this whole thing, just accepts the job because he wants to get his car and get back on the road, and things go haywire, and they don't waste any time getting into it. The first introduction that you get to the animatronics is done so well because it feels exactly how this kind of situation would happen. It just introduces itself, gives it to you straight up, and then the movie just doesn't hold back. From there till the end, it just keeps going and escalating. And there's a lot of tropes that you get from, you know, horror films and stuff that just makes absolute no sense. You know, of course, you've got to get the ambiguous sex scene in there, which these people are terrified of being in this building as it is. But of course, once they get in there, they've got to go find themselves having sex in a room somewhere, knowing that these animatronics are looking for them and trying to kill them. So there's those typical tropes like that in there. But like I said, I feel like that's where a lot of the heart of this movie comes in, because when they sat down and pieced this together and worked everything out for this, I really feel that they had those old school 80s slashers in mind, and they wanted to, you know, pay homage to that as much as possible. And Nicolas Cage produced the film, as well as Grant Kramer. That was really wild to see Grant Kramer's name pop up, and he has a small cameo in this too, which I thought was pretty cool. If you don't know Grant Kramer, going back and, you know, he's done other things, but for me, it'll always be Killer Clowns from Outer Space, playing Mike back then, and Killer Clowns, and just iconic film, one of my favorites. So it was really cool to see his name pop up and then him pop up in this movie a little bit there. So I feel like that was even more so paying homage to those old school 80s films, especially with him producing on this as well. And these animatronics were done super, super creepy like too. The movie is a horror movie. I wouldn't necessarily say there's anything in this that's scary so much, but the tone kind of plays back and forth of like badass Nicolas Cage doing Nicolas Cage stuff and, high octane kind of action. But the way some of these animatronics would go about and handle themselves was done in a very creepy manner. There's one in particular, kind of like this fairy looking animatronic, and the body movements and the way that this thing would kind of move around a room and stuff was done in a very eerie manner because of kind of the body contortionist movements in a sense. So there was things in here that had a very, horrific tone to it, and it played very well in contrast with the action kind of piece to this too. So they did a really good job with how these animatronics are being utilized and giving it a little bit of an offsetting feeling. Even though, like I said, it doesn't give you that full-blown horror feel, but you could tell they were tapping on that, and they did a really good job capturing some of that. Nicolas Cage is Nicolas Cage in this, and that's why I feel he kind of found his niche with these movies and stuff, because putting him in these kinds of movies, I feel, is really kind of exploiting and capitalizing on what we love about Nicolas Cage, and he just fits so well into these roles. So I really hope that this is what we're going to get from him moving forward, because I think after Mandy, that really kind of brought out a lot in what we could see Nicolas Cage do and how he fits so well into like a genre film like that. I hope we get more of this and everyone continues to bring Nicolas Cage and wants to cast him, because I feel like we're going to get like the Liam Neeson effect too. Liam Neeson, after Taken, all of a sudden we got to cast him in all these badass action type roles and stuff. So I hope Nicolas Cage gets a good run with films that are all within the same kind of a genre, because they're fun. It fits well for him, and I'm excited to see what else they can put him into and what are the scenarios we can see Nicolas Cage do Nicolas Cage things. I've said Nicolas Cage a lot, so that's going to do it for Willy's Wonderland. I don't want to say too much more to get into spoilers. I would strongly recommend seeking this movie out, especially if you're a fan of old school slasher films and stuff and are looking for just something that's a little bit more straightforward. Nothing complex, nothing in your face, just a straightforward, fun, badass kind of a action horror film with Nicolas Cage in there doing what he does best. So that will do it, guys. It gets a strong recommendation from me here at Nerf Herders Studios. Again, please hit that subscribe button, click the bell for notifications, drop a thumbs up on the video here, help push this bad boy along. Leave some comments down below if you've seen Willy's Wonderland. Would love to know your thoughts on the movie here, and we will catch you all in the next video.